and they take the series 2 out of 3.
Welcome into a Sunday edition of the Extra Inning Post-Game Show with Bill Laskey. As we talked about it yesterday, could the Giants pull it off? Could they win this third game and win this series? Well, they definitely did. A little nail-biter in the bottom of the ninth, but the Giants held on 3-2. 3 runs, 5 hits, no errors for the Giants. 2 runs, 5 hits, 1 error for the Nationals. And the Giants pick up their 31st win. They're 31-22. And we always talked about pitching. And definitely the Giants did this in this whole series. When you look at what Robbie Ray did today, he got his 7th win. 6 innings, 3 hits, no walks again, 7 strikeouts. And when you add those numbers up for the month of May, he went 4-0 in 5 starts, a 1.4 earned run average, 32 innings pitched, 21 hits, 5 earned runs, 8 walks, 36 strikeouts. That is your ace of the staff. That's the guy that needs to get extension. That's the guy Buster Posey needs to go drop some money on and get him back here for a couple more years, because Robbie Ray at 33 years old is lights out right now. As he called himself in his last start when he threw 7 innings or 6 innings against the Kansas City Royals, he said, "I'm on autopilot. I can do what I want, when I want, and what I do." And he did it again today. A lot of fastballs. He stuck with the fastball against the lefties. He threw 54 fastballs in his 90 pitches he threw, 19 sliders, which still was a good pitch for him. He just gets that ball whipping against the lefties on the outside corner, breaks it down out of the zone to righties. 9 curveballs, 8 changeups. And these are the pitches that he worked on in spring training for a 90-pitch mix. 63 strikes, as I said, 14 first-pitch strikes, 21 hitters he faced, 6 ground ball, 5 fly balls. What can you want? What do you want to ask for him? He just did another great game for the San Francisco Giants. He came into the game with 14 shutout innings, and he retired the first 2 innings. He got him up, and then the third inning, a base hit by Nunez, a little dribbler to first base, got him to second base. Nunez steals third, and then a wild pitch, and that was the only run he gave up. He got out of a jam, got out of a couple jams. But this is what Robbie Ray's done for the whole month of May. He's consistently going out there throwing strikes. In the beginning of the months in April, he struggled. We saw that. We saw the walks. But he's healthy now. And when you talk about a veteran pitcher getting into this situation every fifth start, every 5th day to get that start, he was top of the line again. And this is what the Giants needed today. The Giants got early runs in the second inning by a hit by pitch by Flores, a base hit by Chapman, and then a little dribbler down the first base line by Adames, and they got their first run. A home run in the second inning by Sam Huff, a 3-2 fastball. Really hit that ball well. Second home run for him. A triple by Yaz, a little ground ball up the middle, and the Giants scored 3 runs. But when you look at this offense, Giants fans, that's all they did. That's all they did. After the third inning, they only got 1 hit. And this is what we talk about all the time. This offense got to get better. When you're looking at 3-0 from the third inning, and they didn't even mount an attack from there. But again, they won the game. So what are we complaining about, right? The Giants are 31-22. They're walking into the Tiger Den. Detroit Tigers won today. They're 34-20 on the season. Best record in Major League Baseball. 18-8 in Tiger Stadium, and it's going to be a head-to-head matchup. I think you all know I'm a big Tiger fan. I grew up a Tiger fan, but when we go orange and black, we go orange and black. Oh, yeah, the text lines have been coming in, all the emails coming in from all my buddies in Ohio and Detroit. Oh, yeah, bring your Giants. Oh, we're coming. Oh, we definitely are coming. After we won the Nationals, 2 out of 3, we're coming to get you. 3 right-handers pitching for the Tigers. Kiter Montero, Jack Flaherty, and Jackson Joe. 2 rookies. 2 of them that are struggling a little bit. Jack Flaherty, we've seen him around back in St. Louis, pitched for the Dodgers, came back with Detroit. And the Giants are throwing Hayden Birdsong, Logan Webb, and Landon Root. I'll take our chances in that series, no question. So the Giants have now played 19 one-run games. 19. They're 11-8 in one-run games. They won their 5th road series win. 5 road series. And we always talk about this when you want to know how your team's doing and how many series you win. And that's what I always talk about. Win the series. Don't just win one game, win two and win the series. And I think that's what the Giants are doing now. And this is what they have to do. They have to compete in the NL West. They have to win games against Washington. They go head-to-head against Detroit. This is going to be a good game. This is going to be a good three-game series, and we're starting right off tomorrow at 10:10 a.m. right here on KNBR. First pitch, 10:10, Memorial Day. Memorial Day is when we look at all the people that sacrificed their lives for us in the military and Navy, all the different things that we have watched our parents, our grandparents, our brothers fight and live for us. And this is what we have to look at for Memorial Day. A couple years ago, I was telling my producer, Ralph, somebody called it Happy Memorial Day. No, it's not Happy Memorial Day, people. It is not a happy day. It is a day we reflect. It's a day we cherish the people that have served for us, for our freedom. And we're going to do that tomorrow. Today, got a great series of interviews, and it really sat down. Mike Yastrzemski, been trying to get him on the show for a few years. I finally caught him, and he said yes, and it is a fabulous interview, one of the better ones I've had, and Mike was so gracious with me. Then Terry Mulholland. People don't know Terry. If you do, you do. He was pitched for the Giants for many years, 20 years in the big leagues. They call him Mountain Man, and why I called it an exclusive interview? Because the mountain man doesn't come down from his mountain too long. And when I finally got a hold of him, I've known Terry for many years, and we sat and talked, and he goes, I just don't do interviews, Bill. And I said, I know, Terry. You and I are buddies. I'll never pressure him. I'll never pressure you, Terry. What are you going to do? And Terry said, let me think about it. 3 days later, we did one hell of an interview. It's a two-parter. That's how long it was. He threw a no-hitter. He started in the All-Star game. He had one of the best moves to first base. We talk all about it, and he was so gracious. Two fabulous interviews today on a Sunday when we get to that point in the show. 415-808-KNBR if you want to get on the phone lines. We'll take a quick break on the Extra Inning postgame show and come back with more right here on the Sports Leader.
KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey keeps the postgame rolling live right here.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
On KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM, the sports leader.
All right, welcome back to a Sunday edition of Extra Inning Postgame Show with Bill Laskey. The Giants win today 3-2 and take the first series of this 9-game road trip. They beat the Washington Nationals in 2 out of 3. And I want to throw some numbers out at you. And this is what we're talking about with the Giants pitching. In 3 games against the Nationals, they threw 26 innings. They had 18 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, 21 strikeouts. That was the full pitching staff. 4 earned runs they gave up in 26 innings against the Nationals. They go 2-1. Let's take it a step further. The bullpen, using 6 pitchers, twice with Rogers and twice with Rodriguez, they pitched 10 innings of it, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. So before you guys, all Giants fans, want to jump on Ryan Walker, let me tell you a stat here on Ryan Walker. In the month of May, he's been pitching very well. Very well. He's got 10 saves on the year. He's thrown 8 1/3 innings. Gave up 4 runs in this month. Still, you're looking at what he's done. He's done a very good job. Sure, you want to look at what he did today. He almost blew it, but he didn't. He's got save number 10. Yes, Camilo Duvall has been pitching lights out. Tyler Rogers, throw him in the mix. Eric Miller, throw Randy Rodriguez in all of them. When you look at the bullpen, they have a 2.6 earned run average, number 1 in Major League Baseball. So before we get to these phone calls with everybody who wants to light up Ryan Walker, I'm going to tell you to stop. Really, stop. This is a guy that Bob Melvin and J.P. Martinez wants to be the closer. This is what their idea is. It's not our idea. It's not our way to say, hey, Ryan Walker doesn't belong to be the closer. Yes, he does. In their eyes, and this organizational eyes, that's who they want to be the closer. Yeah, it was close today. But listen to the numbers that this bullpen's been doing. He gave up 1 earned run today, Giants fans. They threw 10 innings in this 3-game series and gave up 2 earned runs. 2. One was Tristan Beck in his 3rd inning when he went out there to throw 3 innings. And today was the only run Ryan Walker gave up. In this series, the bullpen's been lights out. So let's jump in these phone calls. I am going to save Ryan Walker. I am going to fight you. Yes, I am, because I believe he is that guy. Others are pitching well. He knows that. Others know that they could do it. They know that. But this isn't what the Giants team wants. This is what they want. This is what their plan is. And we as fans and analysts have to watch it. And I'm going to tell you right now, Ryan Walker is the closer today. Tomorrow in Detroit, it may be Camilo Duvall. What is the problem here? There shouldn't be. All right, let's go out to Gary in San Ramon. Gary, you're on the Extra Inning Postgame Show with Bill Laskey. What do you got for me today, buddy?
Hey, Bill, just wanted to, first of all, appreciate your comments on Memorial Day. It is a day of remembrance, not necessarily a day of celebration, and I thought your words were right on point.
Mm-hmm. Well, my dad was in the Navy, and he was in Pearl Harbor, so I got to watch a lot of things growing up of what he did and all his friends that passed away, and he was very, very big on Memorial Day to put that flag on your porch and understand all the people that fought for your freedom. And, you know, from your dad to your son, that's how I believe, too.
Was in the Army Air Force and was up in Sitka, Alaska, and he was on a tail gunner in a plane, so, so did his part there. But anyway, thanks again for those comments, Bill. But yeah, I'm gonna push back on Walker just a little bit. You know, as a pitcher, Bill, his slider, he just doesn't seem to know where it's going. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, he overthrows it, and he's overthrowing the sinker. And I go back to that L.A. Angel game, and that was really his first hiccup. And he was throwing everything so hard he couldn't control it. I was a sinker slider guy too, but I didn't throw in the mid-90s or even low 90s with my breaking ball. Sliders are supposed to be thrown where the break of the ball hits, not overthrows. Some guys now overthrow it to try to get that big break. He does it, but I wish he would just dial back a little bit, Gary. 2-3 miles an hour back, and that thing's wicked. But you know what? He'll get through it. He pitched well at home. And today, that was his first time he threw in 3 days. So maybe he was overamped.
Well, it's a blessing to have so many quality relievers. I mean, Rodriguez has been lights out.
Oh,
Camilo has come back to form. You can always count on Rogers, for a solid inning, and that's just great. What I'm thinking is down the road, Bill, do we think about moving some of our pitching or one of our pitchers for a bat? And is that something that you're thinking about?
Yeah, down the road, I think you're going to look at it. I think the month of June, when you're playing the Dodgers, the Padres, the Colorado Rockies, the D-backs, I think that's really going to decipher on what Buster wants to do. Bob Melvin's going to be in the mix, J.P. Martinez, and looking at some of the youth that are in Sacramento. There's some golden arms down there. Carson Wisenhunt is just flame-throwing. 7 innings, it seems like his last 6 starts. He's only walked 2 guys. And this is what this big problem was going into the season, Gary, was Carson Wisenhunt. Can he throw strikes? Well, he's just proved them. That's why I was wondering if they were going to bring him up for Harrison. But I understand it. Kyle Harrison was in front of him. Great. I thought Kyle Harrison threw great yesterday for those 4 innings.
Absolutely. What can you tell me about Encarnacion? When is he due back?
Well, he's supposed to come back in the next couple of days, but he's not rehabbing. Right now, they shut him down. I guess the hand is sore. He was supposed to come back, I do believe, May 28th. So I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know if he's in Sacramento now. He was at home in the dugout with Oracle. They did mention something about his hand, that it was still a little sore. So hopefully he'll get on the road, because we kind of need this guy as a home run hitter, and he can definitely hit. Wilmer Flores today, that ball that hit him in the upper ribs, I was really worried that was going to break a rib cage. That thing was just right on his, and it was he opened his stance up, and that ball came back at him, hit him on the right side. So I was a little worried about that, but he stayed in the game. We'll find out more once they get to Detroit, if he's got to get an MRI or if he's just going to slough it off.
Right. It's been difficult to watch Lamont struggle, knowing what he's done in the past and the good eye that he has. Would you like to see Casey Schmidt get some play at first base?
I think against right-handers, you got to keep Lamont in. I like Lamont as a first baseman. Coming back from being an outfielder to a first baseman, I think he does a good job there. And as a left-hand first baseman, Gary, you've watched baseball. That's what you want on first base as a left-hander. I just think you got to look at what him and Patrick Bailey are doing. Any kind of offense they can give us, that's right. A blessing. And he's out there. No. I was saying this yesterday in the show. These guys are there early hitting. They're in the cages. They're watching video. It's not like they're walking in at 3:30 for a 7 o'clock game. These guys are busting tail. They know what they're doing. They're looking at the numbers. They're trying their best. And I think Giants fans just got to give them a little break. Team's 31-22. Sure. Is there somebody else that could play first base better than him? Not in the Giants organization right now, so that's what the Giants are stuck with, and I'm right there. Let Lamont play.
Absolutely. Well, hey, and Patrick, he's worth his weight in gold as a catcher, Bill. And,
I'm right there with you. Yep. Gary, thanks for the call on a Sunday, man. I appreciate your call. Let's go to San Jose and talk to Dennis. Dennis, you're on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show with Bill Laskey. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Bill, I know you don't disagree with me, but I think Duvall should be the closer, because they wouldn't have got a hit off him. They wouldn't even got a run off him today if he pitched.
Well, you got to look at hindsight here, Dennis. This is what Bob Melvin, J.P. Martinez, Buster Posey, this is what they're doing. This is what they want. They're winning. Sure, he gave up a run. He has been pitching lights out lately. So is Camilo Duvall. I understand totally what you're saying. But if you look at Camilo and you look at all these other bullpen arms, they're going to tell you straight up, doesn't matter, we're winning. And I think that's the first foot that you got to look forward in when you're trying to make a decision on who's your closer.
Yeah, I don't know if he can last until September, but I hope he can. Because
they're dividing them up. That's the other thing, Dennis. It's, you might see Camilo tomorrow being the closer. I think that is such a great weapon for Bob Melvin and J.P. Martinez to have the options of putting 2 different pitchers in closer roles. It's rest and relaxation, and both of them can do it. We watched Camilo do it 2 years ago when he made the All-Star team. So it is what it is, Dennis, and we're here for the ride. They won 2 out of 3, and I think that's the smile on all Giants fans today.
Bill, what about that 20-year-old first baseman on the minor leagues? Are they going to bring him up? He's a power hitter.
Bryce Eldridge? He's in Double-A. That's where he is right now, hitting the hell out of the ball. I think he's got 4 or 5 home runs. No, I think they want him to really stay in one spot for a full year, kind of groom him, kind of get his feet wet on a full season. Oh, he's got talent, no question, Dennis. And then, Buster Posey and Bob Melvin are going to take their time and graduating him each step. And I think that's a great way to get his foot on the right path. I'm getting my feet and foot wrong today. And doing it the right way and building more confidence within him.
Do you think he'll be up in September, though?
That's a good call. Who knows? He's going to be down there. He's going to be providing whatever he can do. He's learning to play first base, Dennis, and I think that's the other thing why they want him to stay in Richmond. But you never know. He might be in Sacramento next month. You just don't know. These guys make a lot of decisions within the organization. Randy Wynn's now part of the minor leagues. He's got eyes on all of them, and we'll find out what this team does. But he's definitely one in the back pocket the Giants have. But thanks for the call, Dennis. Let's go to Frank in Modesto. Frank, how are you on a Sunday afternoon on the Extra Inning Postgame Show?
I'm doing great. And I called yesterday, and I was ragging on Bailey, and I was ragging on Wade. I'm going to tell you the difference in the game today was Huff. He made the difference in the game, and I think they have a lot better chance of winning games with Huff offensively.
I'm going to fight you, Frank. I fought you yesterday. You got to look at what Bailey does. You got to look at the confidence that Bailey brings to his pitching staff. You got to look at his framework, his blocking. There's no question Sam Huff is a young, upcoming catcher. No question. He got, they picked him up on waivers from the Texas Rangers. He's learning at the big league level. This is the first time he's been in the big leagues. Made the team out of spring training. We got to give Huff a little bit more time. He only had 45 bats going into the season this year. He's 9 for 45. He went 1 for 3 today. I loved it when he cracked that home run. I thought that was really cool.
Well, then give him some at-bats.
There you
Play
go.
him half and half.
I'm sure you might when you give Patrick Bailey a day off. I mean, Huff went against a right-hander, so it looks like Bob Melvin is saying, hey, we need to give him one day off here. They're going against the Tigers, one of the best teams in Major League Baseball. So it's something that Bob Melvin knows as a catcher. And you know this, Frank. As a catcher, you know when those legs get tired. You know when you need a day off. And it was a good move, and it worked. And Sam Huff came through with a nice home run today. But, Frank, thanks for the call today. I appreciate your time. Let's go out to Livermore and talk to Kyle. Kyle, you're on a Sunday edition of the Extra Inning Postgame Show with Bill Laskey. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you doing, Bill?
I'm doing good. I'm just kind of looking at the bullpen, and, man, you cannot beat this bullpen in Major League Baseball. Number one with a 2.6 earned run average. And the arms are just deadly. Rodriguez again, spotless today. 10 pitches, 7 for strikes. Tyler Rogers, 10 pitches, 8 for strikes. When you look at Ryan Walker, he got in a jam, but he got out of it. And I think this is what we got to look at. That was an 8-pitch battle against Lowe today, and he finally got him to swing at that sinker away. And he got a flyby by call to end the game. So he got his 10th save. The Giants win the game. And I think this bullpen has just been outstanding so far.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, like you said, I think people need to, cut some slack with Ryan Walker. We would just not even care when, closers don't always have an immaculate inning. They're not always, going to just get, all right, 1, 2, 3. It's sometimes a run gets given up, but that's the leisure of having a couple runs. And also the fact of, I know Duvall's been lights out this year, but, I think a lot of people were kind of giving Duvall a little bit of more of a leash, less of a leash last year when he was, not doing too well, and then Ryan Walker's coming on, So
right,
it's kind of
right.
that now they're kind of forgetting that as Duvall's come back into himself and, and Ryan Walker's kind of coming back. I don't think you give up on him, but I also, one more thing I wanted to say was, would it not be a bad move to maybe go get a slugging first baseman or someone, I don't know, not
Well, I'm sure they're looking. There's a lot of teams getting rid of players at a big league level. The White Sox are, they have Vaughn over there who's an ex-Cal player. They just got rid of him. I'm sure Buster's looking at ways to improve the roster. But Buster's also that guy that wants those same 26 guys to win and lose together. I like that. I like that way more than what we saw in Farhan for 6 years with a revolving door. That brings your team together, that builds confidence, and the biggest thing you do is you're winning as a team. And there's guys scuffling. We know that. We got guys hitting 210, 215, 180, but they continue to keep winning by pitching and defense. And if we can continue to do that as Giants and Giants fans, what the hell are we bitching about? They're 31-22.
Agree, Bill. I appreciate you being such a realist with a lot of people, and you got to stop bitching sometimes. They're doing well above 500.
I'm right there with you, man. I'm right there with you. Enjoy the season and get behind them because they're playing great baseball. This series against the Tigers is going to be a fun one, especially for me, being a big Tiger guy I am. But it's going to be a good 3-game series. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, Bill. Have a good rest of your Sunday.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Hey, I want to give a shout-out to a buddy of mine, Santino Williams, out there texting me, wanting to say hello. He's on his radio listening to me right now. Santino, nice to hear you texting me. Have a good afternoon, my friend. Let's go out to Dan in Mountain View. Dan, you're on the Extra Inning post-game show. How are you?
Great, Bill. It's really nice to see the Giants bounce back and win a series. And for me, it's when you have good pitching, starting pitching, and bullpen, you're not going to get yourself into those situations they had last year when you lose 6-7 in a row and all of a sudden you can take yourself out of it. I think having Ray and everyone we have in the bullpen and Webb and even these young guys who have come up like Birdsong and Kyle Harrison and the curveballer, Roop, it's unbelievable to see what the pitching has done. And look, I really am impressed with Duvall because for me it's about his attitude. And last year, I remember when we first brought him in and it wasn't a close situation and he just kind of was moping. And now whatever we ask of him, whatever the situation is, he's going in there with a great attitude. He's actually trying harder to hold runners on first. And
I agree.
Why break something that's working? He's actually really thriving in the position he's in now. And that is hugely valuable for this team.
And one of the things, Dan, I don't know if you heard Dave Fleming say when he came into the game the other day, he said Camilo Duvall is trying to throw strikes more to try to get outs. He's not trying to strike everybody out. And I thought that was a great point by Dave Fleming because he is. He's coming in there, strike one. Here's a slider. Here's a fastball. Hit a ground ball. Hit a pop-up. But the other thing I like about him a little bit, he's shown a little more emotion this year. He's got a little smile once in a while, a little smirk. And I love when he strikes somebody out, the little kick he does because, he owns horses back in the Dominican.
I didn't know that, but I love the look he gives Patrick Bailey after a win, that kind of smile, and it's that confidence. And I think if you're an opposing team and you're playing the Giants, there's something to it to know that if you don't have the lead after the 7th, you're in trouble.
You definitely are. Oh, teams know that too. I throw numbers out there about the Nationals bullpen having over a 6-point earned run average. Then you look at the Giants with a 2.6. If you don't think that opposition knows when this bullpen comes into these games, lights out, and they're bringing gas. 99 miles an hour Rodriguez threw a fastball today. He is my unsung hero in that bullpen. He really has been great.
Absolutely. I don't know if you were in Montreal at this time, because I'm from Montreal, but I remember when we had Rocky Biddle, and they just kept throwing him out, and it was to the point where you actually saw the player starting to sigh because he just couldn't get an out. And it deflates a team when you have – it's the opposite effect. If you have a strong bullpen, your team, when you have a strong bullpen, it magnifies. It's not just about having – then you're –
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Dan, I'm losing you. You're in the car. Dan, I'm losing you, so I'm going to have to say thank you for your call. It's a lot of static right now. But you had good points, and I appreciate you talking about the bullpen like you did. And he's so right. When you look at Camilo Duvall, you look at Ryan Walker, Randy Rodriguez could be a closer too, but he's still young. He's got dynamite stuff, a fastball and a slider, and he had a nice 1-2-3 inning today. And right after Robbie Ray came out of the game, Robbie had 90 pitches, and I thought that was a good move. Punched out the last guy. I loved it. A fastball up, 3-2 fastball, and he punched out James Wood to end his 6 innings. That was impressive right there. But you look at what Robbie Ray did. He had 7 strikeouts. 6 of them were elevated fastballs, or really just bazooka gun fastballs. You just threw it right by him. Threw one curveball in the first part of the game. I think it was the first inning, if I'm not mistaken. Rosario had fouled off 3 or 4 pitches, and he broke a little curveball and struck him out. But what you saw in Robbie Ray today, and I always talk about that first pitch strikes, 14 out of 21, is very impressive. And I like what he grunts. Sure, we know what he grunts all the time, almost every pitch. But today, Dave Fleming and Hunter Pence were saying it's more of a relaxation for him. It's kind of like breathing for him. Pitchers, you always talk about taking that deep breath between pitches, understanding what you got to do, slow the game down. Robbie Ray did that a lot today. If you saw him, the pitch clock, you saw it down to 3, 2, and he was taking his time before he threw the pitch. Veteran move. Let the hitter wait there, and it definitely worked today with 6 shutout innings. And I throw the stat out there again. In the month of May, 5 starts, 4-0 with a 1.41 earned run average. Buster Posey, go knock on his door, sign Robbie Ray for another 3 years. I'd love to see him in a Giants uniform. I just got some information about Gerard Encarnacion. My secret spy tells me, Mr. Ron Wotus, that he's in Arizona now, and he's working out of Papago. So that's a good point for what Encarnacion's doing down there and getting some at-bats, and I appreciate Ron sending me that text. All right, let's go out to Alex in Sonoma. Alex, you're on the extra inning postgame show on a Sunday. Giants win 3-2, walking into Detroit, and Detroit 34-20. What do you think of that series before we talk?
Well, I'm happy about today, Bill. Happy Memorial Weekend.
Hold on here. Don't drop a happy memorial. I'm going to stop you right there, buddy. It's not happy memorial. I'm going to stop you right there, Alex. Come on now. You know, we got to honor those that supported us for freedoms, and it's not a happy moment. So I'm going to stop everybody that calls me and says that. My dad was in the Navy.
Okay.
I respect what he did.
Yeah, sorry about that. Well, my grandfather was in WW1.
There you
my
go.
dad in the Korean. My brother, who's 12 years younger than me, he's a Marine, and I just missed the Vietnam War, but I was signed up, ready to go. And thank you for straightening me out on that, Bill. But it's a great country when we can talk baseball and watch and play. That's for sure. So, and
Sure
thank you to all
good game today, huh? What did you think of that, Alex? Good game all around.
Today I talked about pitching. We were talking about pitching. I want to talk a little bit about hitting. I spoke about the pitching. But when you got Chapman and you got Willie, slumping the way they are, and we know they can hit better than they're hitting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a given. We've talked about that, at length. And all the guys, Bailey behind the plate, these are professional baseball players. And even though, Bailey's not hitting right now, we know he could hit better than he's hitting, obviously. But I think my point is timely hitting is important, timely being the key word. Having a pitching staff like the
Alex, let me stop you right there. Alex, let me stop you right there. You say timely hitting. Let me just drop the timely and just say hitting. I think hitting is what we're looking for. The Giants need to hit better. They need to get better approaches. They need to watch pitches more. You heard me last night complain about when you look at Jake Irvin going out there in the 5th, 6th, 7th inning and throwing 23 pitches and getting 9 outs. That was not good hitting. Today, much better. But after the 3rd inning, they really didn't mount any attack in this game.
Right. Well, it's inexplicable how weak the hitting was yesterday. I mean, it made the pitcher look like a superstar. It was just crazy.
Hey, he threw strikes. That's what he did, Alex. He threw strikes and the Giants swung at him. So why wouldn't you just say, hey, keep going. I'm going to keep throwing them. You're hitting them. I'm getting outs. Why would I change?
He's a smart pitcher because that's what you do, right? Mm-hmm. What's working, you keep serving up the same diet there. But I think when it's that lackluster, Bill, obviously the pitching staff will last the season. We got the talent. If you don't have a pitching staff and they're not pitching well now, it's hard to put together a pitching staff. Our starters and our bullpen, I love them. And in fact, like you just said, we got several closers at this point. If we want to,
it's a mix, and that's what Bob Melvin's doing. And there's no question, all these guys in the bullpen are cheering for each other. There's not a guy sitting in a corner going, oh, he's closing, I'm not. BS. I say BS. This team is closing out of that bullpen trying to be the best. Each one of them's coming in there to get a clean one inning and dropping it to the next guy. That's what I like about this bullpen. That's a pitching staff. The same thing with the starters. I threw the numbers out earlier with what Robbie Ray has done in the month of May. He's been your best pitcher. The Giants have won 10 games out of his 11 starts, and in that start, he threw a shutout for 6 innings against Kansas City. So everything's rolling right in the pitching department. We got to get some better at-bats. We got to get better approaches, and we got to start scoring some more runs. But, Alex, thanks for the call today. I appreciate your time. All right, we got a few more on hold. We got to take a quick break here. My name is Bill Laskey. This is the Extra Inning Postgame Show. Whatever you do, once these calls stop, do not stop listening to the Extra Inning Postgame Show. Mike Yastrzemski and Terry Mulholland, an exclusive interview that you're going to want to just listen to. Good interviews coming up down the road. We're taking the phone calls till they die. My name's Bill Laskey. Once again, we're back right here on The Sports Leader.
Bill is back.
Fired up, bringing it, all excited.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Listen on your Google Home smart speaker by saying play KNBR.
All right, back on the Extra Inning post-game show on a Sunday with Bill Laskey. Throwing some numbers out on this 3-game series against the Washington Nationals. The Nationals came in with this series on 5-0. They had won 5 games. They swept the Orioles, took 2 from the Braves. In those 5 games, they scored 37 runs. The 2 top hitters that were doing everything for the Washington Nationals, C.J. Abrams, of course, you remember him, 24-year-old shortstop, got from the Padres. He was hitting .311 when they started this series on Friday. He's hitting .292 now. He went 1 for 12 in this series. They stymied him, and really the only hit they got was in that 9th inning off Rogers today, or Walker, I should say, going to left field. That was his only hit. And it was off the edge of the bat. It was a really nice bit bat because sinker was going away. He just went with a pitch, hit it down the third base line. Now, the other one is James Wood. James Wood is going to be a sensational player, 22-year-old outfielder. He ended up going 3 for 12 in this 3-game series with a home run, and he got to hit today. So, you know, when you're looking at what the Nationals have, those are your 2 big names, Abrams and Wood. They're going to be superstars. They're both good players. So you look at what the Giants did, 11-8 one-run games, their 5th road series win. They're 26-10 against right-handed pitchers. So why do I say that? Well, the Tigers are throwing 3 right-handed pitchers to them. Kaider Montero, through 6 games so far with the Detroit Tigers, he's 1-1 with a 5.28 earned run average. Going against Hayden Birdsong tomorrow, 2-0 with a 1.9. On Tuesday, Jack Flaherty's on the mound, 2-6 with a 4.3, going against Logan Webb, 5-4 with a 2.6. And then on Wednesday, Jackson Jobe, a 22-year-old rookie. He's 4-1 with a 4-point earned run average, going against Landon Root. And boy, Landon Root has just been pitching lights out. So what do I think? I think they're going to win 2 out of 3. I really do. I said it earlier, they're going to go 6-3 on this 9-game road trip. I said it. I threw it out there on Friday, and a lot of fans said 5-4, Bill. A lot of them did. Mostly all of them, to tell you the truth. 6-3 is what I'm sticking with. So far, I'm a third of the way. All right, let's get back on the phone lines. Let's go out to Salinas and talk to Tom. Tom, you're on the Extra Inning post-game show on a Sunday. Giants win today, 3-2. Did you end up watching the game?
I just listened to it, actually caught the end.
Yeah, it was a good, exciting game. Giants scored early. They just couldn't capitalize after the 3rd inning.
Well, it sounds familiar. I mean, obviously, if Wilmer's not up there in such situations, this offense has a real tough time struggling getting out of the gate.
You're absolutely right. Wilmer Flores with 43 RBIs. Where would this offense be if he wasn't driving in those runs?
And kind of to that point, Mike, I want to get your take on a couple things. I mean, you know, Buster's done a great job with the front office and spinning the attitude around a little bit. Gomez has done his part. Obviously, the bat's not working out. I was just kind of curious. I know Buster kind of was raised under Sabian, and Sabes always used to make that deal right at the deadline to get a bat or whatever the team seemed to need going into the second half of the season. I'm curious to see, you know, if they might deal some of this young pitching to get a bat that can sustain the offense a little bit more. And then my second question has to do with Bryce Eldridge, and, you know, with Wade struggling and messing around with Schmidt at first base, maybe give Bryce Eldridge a look if he gets hot down in the minors.
Well, I think the first thing we got to look at before trades happen in July, you got to look at what's going to happen in June. The Giants play the Padres for 4, Atlanta for 3. That's their next homestand after this road trip. Then they go to Colorado and they play the Dodgers on a weekend series. Then the Guardians come in here and the Red Sox come in here. So when you're looking at the first 3 weeks of June, you're going to find out a lot about this team and what if they need anything, or they may stick with what they have. But in the long range of it, it's pitching, and it's dominant pitching. So we'll find out, but I don't think there's going to be any trades being made here. They may pick up a couple guys on waivers if that's possible. And on the other side of it, Bryce Eldridge isn't going anywhere. He's going to be in Double-A. If anything, he might move to Triple-A. I just don't see him taking that big jump to the big league level, Tom. I really don't.
Well, I appreciate your call, Bill, and I'm wondering if you're still rocking the killer mustache back in the day.
Yeah, mine's a little grayer now, though, Tom. So we got to keep it still up there, but it's grayer now as well as my hair. But you know what, Tom? I still have hair, and that's the main thing, right?
You got that right. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate your time on a Sunday. You're absolutely right what Tom's talking about. Everybody wants to be trading. Everybody wants to pick up guys. There's guys that are going to be on the waiver wire. There always are. There's some, White Sox are throwing guys out there. The Oakland A's shifted 6 guys from their big league team down to the minor leagues and flip-flopped them all. So you are going to have some movement. You are going to have some guys on the waiver wire. You're going to have guys that are released. But then you got to look at what you're going to do in AAA because they're not going to come right to the big leagues. They got to go to AAA. And then you got your players down in AAA playing regularly. So it is a cat and mouse game on who you're going to sign and who you want and where they're going to fit in. But there's no question. These guys in the front office are extremely smart. They are just extreme. They're watching every move, looking at all the players. All the 30 teams do this. The Giants, I feel, are a little stronger. They have great scouting departments. And under Buster, he understands what they need. He's not going to jump to sign Willie Adames. A lot of people are, going, he's crazy for doing it. I'm not. I'm right there with Buster. He needed a top-line shortstop, and Willie Adames was that shortstop. Are we complaining because he's only hitting .215? He'll get better. He's a veteran shortstop. We got to give him some time. Matt Chapman, the same thing. We're looking at the defensive side, and when they come into that dugout on the offensive side, it hasn't clicked yet. So we go day to day, series to series. I've said this all the time. You win a series, you won 2 out of 3. It's a happy flight, as Angel Pagan used to say. Happy flight going into Detroit. They have an early game tomorrow, a couple night games, a day game Wednesday. And what happens? They come and get a Thursday day off. They go down to Miami. That's the series next weekend that I think they should sweep them. At least take 2 out of 3. That's why I'm saying on this road trip, 6-3 is what I'm calling. All right, let's go to Mike. He's in NorCal. What's going on, Mike?
Bill, it's nice to talk to you, man. Hear me out. If you would have told me in February that this team would be 9 games above 500, I would take it. But my concern is this. Your own division, okay? And the lack of offense is going to catch up with you at some point. You can beat the Nats 3-2, and this is a scrappy ball club. I understand that. They pitch, they play defense. But at some point, you're going to start running into those juggernauts within your own division that can pitch and score runs. And I'm talking about the D-backs, the Padres, and the almighty Dodgers. And there is nobody in this one. And there is nobody in this lineup right now besides Wilmer Flores that you can lean on. And I'm sorry, as good as a player that Wilmer is, he's not going to carry you for an entire season.
Let's just hope Wilmer's not hurt from that ball he caught in the ribs today, because that thing was a bullet that he caught. He opened his front shoulder, got hit in the ribs. Jung-Hoo Lee is going to be a name I'm going to throw to you right now. Jung-Hoo Lee is that guy that can come up with that clutch hit also.
Very scrappy player, Jung-Hoo, and very good defender. But my thing is if you look across Major League Baseball, and a lot of teams, more than a lot of teams, have that guy in the middle of the lineup that they can rely on to give you that at-bat every day, whether it's the long ball, whether it's the clutch hit, and the Giants just don't have that. And Adames and Chapman, boy, you better hope that they turn around. You better hope that they get going, because this could be really ugly. And like you said, with the health, Bill, I mean, they've been fairly healthy so far this year.
Yeah,
what
they sure
happens
have.
if one of those guys goes down?
That's worth the next man up. You saw what Casey Schmidt did. You saw Tyler Fitzgerald. Both of them got hurt. And then you end up in Christian Sauce, who filled in nicely. But he's not that guy that's going to drive in 20, 30 RBIs for you. He's a nice fill-in player. Casey Schmidt should get some at-bats maybe, because he's swinging the bat pretty well right now. But you're absolutely right. What's the next man up? If the Giants continue to pitch like they are and play defense, the offense sooner or later are going to catch up. When I look at a lineup, Mike, I look at the top 5 hitters in Major League. I always look, top 5 hitters are what I'm looking at. And that goes back to the days when I pitched. The big right-hander used to look at the top 5 hitters. If I can get through that lineup through the top 5 hitters, 6, 7, 8, 9 should be pretty easy. Should be relatively pretty easy. Now, do I see that today? Yeah, I do, when you look at these lineups. Washington's the same way. And then you look at the Giants, and what I brought up yesterday in the postgame show, Lamont Wade Jr. and Patrick Bailey hit 7 and 8, and they almost had the exact same stats. 22 for 127, 23 for 129. They were almost identical, 1 home run each. Today, Patrick Bailey sat, Sam Huff came in, and boy, he's been a spark to the team. Hit a nice home run. But we got to give these guys some more at-bats, Mike. They only have 200 at-bats. That's not a lot so far. And they've only played 53 games out of 161 or 163. So we'll pump the brakes a little bit, see what they do in Detroit. We got to be happy Giants fans for winning 2 out of 3 against the Nationals. And we'll find out what happens in the next 3 days. But thanks for your call, Mike. And I really think your concerns for hitting is more than just you. There's a lot of Giants fans seeming the same way. But I'm going to pump the brakes on this whole team. They're 31 and 22. They're having a great first part of the season. My name is Bill Laskey. This is the Extra Inning Post-Game Show. We're going to take a break, and I'm going to bring you an interview that I had with Mike Yastrzemski coming up. Sit back, relax, put that speaker on, because this is a fun interview I had with the Yaz. Coming up next right here on the Sports Leader.
The game may be over, but we know you want to talk more ball. So KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey continues.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
We are KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Post-Game Show with Bill Laskey. My guest is in his 7th year at the Major League level, all with the San Francisco Giants. You see him regularly playing right field. Let's bring in number 5, Mike Yastrzemski. Mike, how are you today?
Doing great, Bill. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I appreciate your time. And, in your opinion, the 2025 season, we're close to 50 games right now. What have you seen on the positive change from this year compared to past years?
I just see a lot of heart. We've had and played a lot of tough games this year. A lot of one-run games. We've had some walk-offs, some nice heroics. But there's just a lot of fight in this team. I think that there's never a point in the game where we feel like we're out of it. And when you carry that confidence into the next day, it's contagious. And it's contagious amongst the players in the clubhouse. And I feel like it's contagious with the fans. I feel like we're doing our best to fight every day, and I feel them pulling for us every day, and it creates a really fun atmosphere. And it's just been really fun so far.
Well, it's definitely fun watching you guys, and you guys are playing competitive baseball each day, and I think that's what's been changed in my mind watching this. But I want to go back in time a little with you, Mike. You grew up in Massachusetts. You went to St. John's High School. You got drafted your senior year out of high school. What was the change of you wanting to go to college and not going to pro ball at that time?
I didn't feel like I was mature enough for pro ball. I felt like I had a lot of growing that I had to do both physically and mentally. And, I had conversations with my dad when I was younger about his regrets of not finishing college when he had the chance to. And it was something that always stuck with me, and I always wanted to make sure that I had a college degree and had that experience and had something to lean on if I ever needed it.
Well, you ended up going to Vanderbilt and becoming a Commodore. And a coach there named Tib Corbin, I've been following his career forever. He took over that college in 2003 and just recently won his 1,000th game. What was his decision, and how did you enjoy talking to him when he first recruited you?
When I first started talking to him, it was kind of a long shot because they had all their outfield spots taken up, and they had a kid who was going to potentially sign with the Red Sox, the draft class ahead of me, Ryan Westmoreland, and he ended up signing, and so that created one more outfield spot. So I was basically the last outfielder into the mix at Vandy, and that's all I really felt like I needed. I just needed an opportunity to step in and to get my foot in the door, really, because when I went down there, I watched their work ethic and I watched their workouts, and it was something that I knew I wanted to be a part of. And once I had seen the campus and seen Corbs in action, watching the guys kind of just really, really work as hard as they could in something as small as it was a September workout where it was just running and conditioning, and watching the intensity there, I just knew it was something that I wanted to be a part of. So it was a quick decision for me once I knew that I got accepted into the school and that there was a roster spot for me.
That voice you hear on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show is Mike Yastrzemski. Well, it didn't take you long to join into that team. You're midway through your freshman year, you became a starter in the outfield. I got to ask you, did you play corner outfield in college?
I started off in splitting time in center field with another freshman, Connor Harrell. And then as we both kind of started to progress, I think Corbs felt that we both needed to be in the lineup. So that's when Connor kind of took over center field, and I started mixing it in the corners, and then found a steady home in right field.
Well, one of the coolest things that I did, played in Cape Cod League, and I see where you played 2 summers in Cape Cod. I played in Orleans, you played in Cotuit. It's a different type of college league. You play with a lot of top players all across the nation. Of course, you grew up in Massachusetts, so you knew about this league. How excited were you to play there, not just 1 year, but 2 summers?
I was so fired up. Number one was I got to be close to home, and being from the north side of Boston, I never went down to the Cape a whole lot. If I went to the beach, it was always up in New Hampshire. And so getting to spend a couple summers on the Cape was such a cool experience. The talent level was off the charts, and I think that's what made me a better player. Was I think at the time I didn't necessarily have the skill set to be playing there. I had the mentality. I knew I had a really strong baseball IQ at the time, so I knew how to play the game. And just playing with guys that were genuinely better than me every single day made me a better player. I was forced to kind of, raise my skills to another level, and it really helped me throughout my entire college career.
Mike, was that the first year that you used wood bats? Was that the first time you ended up using them consistently?
I actually used them in high school because at St. John's we're part of the all the Catholic high schools were in their own separate league, and we were a wood bat league. So every conference game that we played in high school, which was, I believe, 10 a year out of our 18 games, was wood bat. And so I kind of got used to it early on.
Well, you end up signing with the Baltimore Orioles. You get traded over here on March 22nd, 2019. Was that a relief for you? Because you had so many good years in the minor leagues with Baltimore, but you never got that opportunity at the big league level. Changeover coming over here. Did you know much about the Giants when you got traded here?
It was a place that I dreamed of playing, to be honest with you. And I remember the afternoon that I got traded. That morning previously, I was sitting in the locker room with one of my buddies who had just been optioned from big league camp, and I was telling him, man, I got to get out of here. Like, there's just no space for me. And he goes, if there was one place you'd want to go, where would it be? And I said, I want to go to San Francisco. At the time, there were 9 or 10 different left fielders that had started in a row. There was no consistency out there. And I said, if I could just get my foot in the door. This was back when the DH was still around, so I knew I was a candidate. I played really good defense, and I felt like that was my way to get my foot in the door. And sure enough, like 4 hours later, I got a call that I got traded to the Giants, and I was kind of in shock that it actually happened.
That's pretty cool that you say that, and then all of a sudden it happens, and you're probably walking out to the car going, what the hell just happened? I can't believe it just happened. But it did, and you come over here and you go to Sacramento. I was
completely shocked.
Yeah, you come to Sacramento, and you lit it up, 316, 12 home runs, and you get the opportunity to come to the big leagues in the month of May. At that time, you had to be excited at one time, and then here is your opportunity that you've been waiting for. How anxious were you to get to the big leagues?
Very, but I was also patient because I knew that there was a reason they had traded for me, and I knew there was a reason that other guys were getting sent up and sent down quickly, and I felt like they were waiting for the right time to give somebody a little bit longer of a leash. And I just got lucky that I happened to be that guy, because there were a lot of, guys that would go up at the time and get 8 to 10 at bats and get sent back down. And I got lucky enough to kind of be given like a 2 to 3 week leash where it was like, all right, like you're going to get out there and you're going to play, and we're going to give you a chance. And I tried to take every single day as if it were my last in the big leagues, and I just got to enjoy it and have fun and experience it. And somehow, some way, I'm still here today, and just trying to keep that same mentality and attitude of gratitude and stay humble and just be excited to be in the big leagues every single day.
A few more minutes with Mike Yastrzemski on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. I want to highlight 3 games, and they're really home run games. Your first home run in the big leagues came May 31st, and that was in 2019. Was the first home run off of the Orioles, of all things, Andrew Kashner. It had to be a surprise for you, and again, it had to motivate you going against that Oriole organization. How excited was that for you when you hit that ball out?
That one was pretty funny because we scored 5 runs in the first inning, and then we gave up 6 runs in the bottom of the first. And I was leading off the inning, and I'm walking up to the plate, and I go, you know what, like, I got to give our guy a little bit of a blow. I got to work in at bat here. And I look up, and I see Kastner on the mound, and I go, you know what? He's probably thinking the exact same thing, so he's just going to groove me a fastball right down the middle. Just be ready for it. And after the game, he sent over a signed ball. I didn't even ask for it. He just sent it over on his own, congratulating me on my first big league home run, because we had spent 2 weeks together in camp. So he knew who I was, and that was it was a really, really cool experience. Really classy move by him to have the wherewithal to know the story and have that thought to make my day. Like it was really cool. The story of it all and being against the Orioles is really cool, but it's just the first one is special no matter what.
It sure is, and what a day it was. So I'm going to take you back August 16th, Chase Field. You hit 3 home runs in the same game. You must be seeing the ball real well that day. And you knocked the hell out of the ball. These balls were mashed. They weren't just over the fence. You hit every one of them. Tell me a little bit about that day, because something special was going on with you.
Yeah. I felt good that day, and we started off facing Mike Leake, and I remember Pablo told me, he's like, hey, make sure you take the first pitch of the game because he's kind of funky. And sure enough, I didn't listen to him. I rolled over the first pitch of the game, and, I think it set my sights for the rest of the day. And I'll never forget after hitting the third one, I hadn't had a multi-homer game at that point. And Stephen Vogt sits next to me, and he looks at me and he goes, it's pretty cool to hit 2 homers in a game. I've done it, but you still haven't. And I started laughing because I had hit 3, and so technically I hadn't hit 2 homers in a game at the point. And it was just a fun thing, and that one came in the 11th inning to put us up, and it was that was a fun back and forth game.
Oh, that was a great game, and boy, you lit it up too. And the last one is September 1st, 2024. Definitely a highlight in your career. You hit your 100th home run, and of course that ranked you 4th for your grandfather, of course, the great Carl Yastrzemski, the Hall of Famer, as well as the grandson, both of you hitting 100 home runs. That had to be pretty special for you and your grandpa.
Yeah, that one was really cool. Your goals change as you progress in your career. And I for a while, I didn't think I'd ever get a hit in the big leagues. I didn't know if I'd ever play in the big leagues. And I started getting into like the 50s and 60s, and I told myself, I go, I want to play long enough to be able to have that opportunity. And when it came true, I just couldn't believe it. It's not that it's a crazy amount of home runs in the grand scheme of things, but for me, it's a huge deal because I was never a big power guy growing up. I think the most home runs I hit in college was 6. The most I had hit in the minor leagues was 15. But my grandfather always told me that it was always important to be a good hitter before you became a good power hitter, because he told me his power never came until he was 28. And that kind of happened with me too. I never really started hitting homers until that year in Sacramento, and that was my 28-year-old season. And all of a sudden I started hitting some homers, and I think it just I had to develop as a hitter before I could learn how to hit home runs. It's a different skill, I believe.
Mike, as we finish up here, you pride yourself in defense. I just love watching you play right field. It's a difficult part to play at Oracle, coming off the bricks, going down the right field line. But you have a .990 fielding percentage in the 7 years. You work at it. You throw the ball extremely well. Perfection sometimes, to the point of getting the ball right on the bag. What makes you a good outfielder?
I think it's that I care about it and I take pride in it. I feel like there's a lot of players in the game that feel like they can just get away with their performance with the bat. And that's something that I never wanted to do. I want to be a complete baseball player, and it's something that drives me. While it's cool playing, great offense and hitting the ball as hard as humanly possible and as far as humanly possible, like, nothing really fires me up like making a diving play or throwing somebody out. And I think that's a team-oriented goal. It's focused on seeing the pitcher light up because you save a run or you keep a double play in order. And there are a lot of small things that happen out there that can change the course of the game that I really want to make sure that I'm perfecting as much as possible because it matters. And when you can't, find your way at the plate sometimes, because as we've all seen, pitching continues to evolve and get better every day. Like, these guys are so good, it's so hard to hit. Defense is something that can stay constant no matter what. If you're a good defender, you're a good defender. That's the way things are. And I always want to be known for that and labeled as that, and make sure that that's something that never leaves me.
Well, Mike, it was a pleasure getting to talk to you today. Continued success, and the key word is stay healthy, my friend.
That's it. Thanks, Bill. I appreciate it.
That was Mike Yastrzemski on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys. It sound right, boys. Sound right, boys.
listening to the former Giants righty. It's KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Heard on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR.
Sound right, boy.
All right, back on the Extra Inning postgame show with Bill Laskey. Giants win the series in Washington, D.C. They beat the Nationals today 3-2. Robbie Ray increases his win record to 7-0, and the Giants have won 10 out of his 11 starts. So doing a great job right there. I call him the ace of the staff because he's really pitched consistently all year. In the month of May, 5 starts, 4-0 with a 1.4 earned run average. That's including this game. 32 innings, 21 hits, 5 earned runs, 8 walks, 38 strikeouts. Impressive. Totally impressive. The bullpen of Randy Rodriguez, Tyler Rogers, and Ryan Walker held it in, and Ryan Walker ended up getting his 10th save. So the Giants now move in their direction of the Detroit, Michigan Tigers. The Detroit Tigers, my old hometown. Kiter Montero pitches for the Tigers tomorrow, and that's a 10:35 first pitch right here on KNBR against Hayden Birdsong. Birdsong's 2-0 with a 1.9. Montero's 1-1 with a 5.2. A little bit more on Montero. His last start against St. Louis, he went 5 2/3, gave up 5 earned runs. Lost to Boston, he went 3 1/3 and gave up 3. So these innings, when you start looking at some of the guys they're going to face, they're right-handed. And what does the right-handers do when the Giants face them? They're 26-10 against right-handers. So they're facing 3 right-handers, Jack Flaherty on Tuesday, and Jackson Jobe, a 22-year-old right-hander, on Wednesday. Logan Webb on Tuesday, Landon Roop on Wednesday. Then they have a day off. They'll travel to Miami. And Miami, they'll have Kyle Harrison, Robbie Ray, and Hayden Birdsong. So pretty good rotation kicking in here as the 9-game road trip continues. Coming up next, I sit down with a friend of mine. I got to meet him in 1986, and that was Terry Mulholland. 20 seasons he pitched in Major League Baseball, 3 different times with the San Francisco Giants. He got drafted by the Giants in 1984 as a first-rounder, and he continued throwing. Then the Giants traded him to Philadelphia. In Philadelphia, what did he do on August 15, 1990? He threw a no-hitter at Veterans Stadium against the San Francisco Giants. If you remember also, the play in New York, when the ball was hit back to him, Keith Hernandez hit a ball back to him. It caught him in the web, and the ball got stuck, and he runs over to Bob Brenly, and he didn't throw the baseball. He threw his glove over there. It's on the bloopers all over Major League Baseball. We're going to talk about some of these things and more as I sit down with Terry Mulholland. And I call it just one of those days where you sit down with a buddy and you talk about his career. Terry Mulholland's called... What he's doing now is he's really some guy that's living in the woods. It's ridiculous. He's got a beard like ZZ Top. He's got a ponytail in the back. The mountain man. He is a mountain man. Lives in the mountains of Arizona. Where Payson is, he lives about 2 to 3 hours north. Lives on a nice 10 acre farm, 8 or 10 acre land. Boy, oh boy. And has horses, golden retrievers, and he's living a life of luxury. Terry Mulholland coming up next right here on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. It's a 2-parter, so don't you dare let go. This is 2 good parts of getting to know Terry Mulholland as a retired baseball player. Coming up next on the Sports Leader.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with former Giants right-hander Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Hear him on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR. Play KNBR.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Post-Game Show with Bill Laskey. I'm really happy to have my guest on. Good friend of mine way back when we played together with the Giants. He played 20 seasons in Major League Baseball, 6 for the Philadelphia Phillies, 5 with the San Francisco Giants. He was a National League All-Star in 1993, threw a no-hitter on August 15th, 1990. Let's bring on number 45, Terry Mulholland. Terry, how's it going, my friend?
That's going well, Lask. How are you this morning?
I'm doing good. Thank you for joining me. It's a pleasure to talk to you, boy. You had a great 20 seasons in Major League Baseball. You pitched all the way till you were 43 years old. How in the hell did you do that, Terry?
Well, if you're left-handed and you got a heartbeat, you got a job in the big leagues. As long as you can throw strikes.
Well, let's go back in time. You grew up in Pennsylvania. You ended up going to Marietta College, a Division III college, and you got drafted out of there. Tell me your thoughts going through high school and college. Did you think you had a good enough stuff to be in the big leagues?
Oh, no, I had no idea if my stuff was ever going to be good enough. I just knew that I liked playing the game. And honestly, Bill, I did all I could to extend my playing days. I went to Marietta, but I wasn't under scholarship. I paid my way to go to school. And, I was just fortunate enough to land in a good baseball program at Marietta, Division III school. And, got to show my wares there, and apparently I attracted enough interest from the Giants for them to take me in the first round in 1984.
Well, Terry, a lot of people on the West Coast as well as in Arizona, they don't understand what we had to go through. I grew up in Ohio, Pennsylvania. We were all in the Midwest in the spring. It was bitter cold. We played in snow flurries, and we ended up knowing the game and playing the baseball like we could. And it was a difficult part of growing up.
It was. And, I know I think my senior year we had a 16-game schedule in high school, and we weren't a very good team. It was actually myself and another left-hander by the name of Larry Kumar, and he ended up actually getting a scholarship to West Virginia. And he and I split time as starting pitchers. We both played first base, so when one was starting, the other one was playing first. And I ended up my senior year with like a 4-4 record, and our defensive players weren't the best. In fact, they couldn't catch a cold. I was 4-4 with a .93 earned run average.
Wow.
So like you were saying, it was a challenge with the weather. You were either playing on muddy fields or snowy fields, or where I grew up, there were a lot of skin infields, so it was a lot of rocks and dirt and stuff like that. So it wasn't quite the facilities that a lot of the kids in Southern California enjoy.
Of course. And on June 4th, 1984, the draft happened. Like you said, you were drafted in the first round, 24th overall pick by the San Francisco Giants. You had to have been pretty excited for that time, being picked in the first round. An ultimate sacrifice that you went through, and you beat it, and you won. How excited were you?
I was very excited. In fact, the day that Marty Miller, who was the cross-checking scout for the Giants at the time, who'd seen me play quite a bit in Marietta, he was the one who called me on draft day and told me that the Giants had taken me in the first round. And honestly, Bill, I dropped the phone. I was so surprised and actually dumbfounded, because I never expected to go that high in the draft. I thought, well, if I get drafted in the first 10 rounds, that would be super. But again, coming from a small town in southwestern Pennsylvania and not really being that well traveled other than, my playing days at Marietta, I was just like, I was completely dumbfounded that the Giants would take me in the first round.
That voice you hear on the Extra Inning post-game show, a good friend Terry Mulholland, and it worked out for you, Terry. 1984, you signed. June 8th, 1986, your Major League debut. I don't know if you remember the lineup you faced, but I'm going to tell you. It was against the Cincinnati Reds at Candlestick Park. 37,000 people on a Sunday. Eric Davis, Dave Concepcion, Dave Parker, Nick Asaski, Buddy Bell, Tony Perez, Bo Diaz, and Ron Oyster. What a hell of a lineup you had to go up against the first time you went out there.
Yeah, a little bit nerve-wracking, and probably the toughest part about that, Bill, was that it was the second game of a doubleheader. And I had to sit through the first game of the doubleheader knowing that I was going to be making my Major League debut and just sitting there. And I'd never been in front of, 30,000 people in my life. And to sit there through one ball game knowing that I was going to have to go out and pitch and start a ball game for the Giants in the second game, it was nerve-wracking.
Well, you did well, Terry. 7 1/3, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. And what was impressive to me was you went out there and threw strikes. And, when you're out there the very first time and you say the second game of a double hitter, you got guys tired. And your lineup was pretty good. Youngblood was in right field. Aldretti was at first. Chris Brown at third. Hackman Leonard in left. Chile was in center. Bob Melvin was your catcher. Robbie Thompson was at second. Jose Uribe at short. A pretty solid lineup playing behind you.
Oh, it was. I was very fortunate to come up with the Giants. As you know, we had some solid veterans, some guys that were great leaders, veterans that actually taught the game to the younger guys and showed us what it meant to be a Major League Baseball player. And so, to have those guys behind me that day on my Major League debut was just it was phenomenal, and they were a big asset to me further on. And I can tell you that I reflect back to those days even now and know that the influence that my teammates in San Francisco had on me throughout my career was just something that I couldn't ask for anything more.
Well, Terry, that same year, we see it all the time, the all-time blooper reel of baseball. On September 3rd, 1986, you were pitching in New York. Keith Hernandez was the hitter. He hit a ball right back at you, and it caught your web and broke your web, but the ball stayed in your glove. And instead of taking the ball out of the glove, you ran it over to Bob Brenly at first and threw him your glove. It was one of the best bloopers ever, and they still play it. Do you remember that play?
Oh, without a doubt. You're right. Hernandez hit a one-hop shot back to the mound, and I made a stabbing, effort at grabbing it. And as I reached into the glove, into the pocket of the glove to grab the ball, I realized that it didn't feel right. And I just took a moment to look at my glove, and there was the ball wedged in between the fingers of the glove. And I'm like, oh, geez. And I gave it one quick try at trying to unwedge it, and it wasn't coming loose. And Hernandez wasn't standing there watching me. He's on his way to first, and so I took a few steps and just took the glove off and tossed it in the air to Brenly, and his eyes lit up like two saucers. And he made one heck of a basket catch with the glove, and then the umpiring crew was a little confused as to what the call was, and they actually had to have a conference before they made the out.
That's amazing. I think Ed Montague, if I'm not mistaken, was the crew chief, because I remember talking to him about it, and he said we just had to make sure that was legal, that he threw the glove over with the ball and making it an out. But, it's a blooper. You'll see the rest of your life and on from there. It was a funny thing. I mean, the entire infield was cracking up. And, it's one of those things that happen in baseball. You never see it happen again, and you were part of it. Let's go on to something else. June 18th, 1989, a day you'll never forget. You were traded to the Philadelphia Phillies along with Dennis Cook and Charlie Hayes for Steve Bedrosian. Expected to get traded, Terry? Were you thinking about it? Was there any discussions about it? Did your agent say that was a possibility, or was that just a total surprise?
It was honestly a total surprise, Bill.
Wow.
As a young player, you always have these dreams that you're going to have this phenomenal career and play with one team your entire career, and coming up through the system, you're dedicated to that organization. And I can remember walking into the locker room at the Stick, and you could kind of feel the energy going on, like something was going on in the locker room. And because there were sports writers in there, and they were in early. You know how those guys usually didn't show up until after batting practice. And I remember going to my locker. I think it was Ralph Nelson who approached me and broke the news to me. And at that moment, I thought, oh, geez, I'm going to Philadelphia by myself, and I don't know anybody in Philadelphia. I know the ball club from growing up in Pennsylvania, but then I come to find out that, Dennis Cook and Charlie Hayes are going with me. I'm like, okay, well, I can handle that. I mean, I've got teammates going with me, so it's not going to be, this lonely situation moving into a new team. And, but yeah, it was a surprise. I had, a little sinking feeling in my heart, having to leave the Giants, having coming up through the organization with them, and all my teammates at that point were a lot of them were my friends, and like I said, you don't ever expect that as a young player. You want to play out your career in front of your hometown fans, but it doesn't always work out that way.
That voice you hear on the Extra Inning post-game show is Terry Mulholland as we continue through his career. And you come over to Philadelphia, you're playing at Veterans Stadium. We all know what the crowds do there and how they get behind the team when you're doing well and how they tell you how bad you are when you're not. How did you like playing with Philadelphia at that time?
I ended up loving the Phillies organization, but it took a little time. Just like any good relationship, you got to work at it. And, in 89 and 90, we weren't very good at all. And it was kind of a revolving audition of players and trades that Lee Thomas was making. But, to Lee's credit, he did assemble one heck of a ball club by the time 93 rolled around. But, yeah, those teams in the 89 and 90 and 91, it was rough. And actually, even going into 92, I think we finished the season in last place in 92, and then 93 we went from worst to first and ended up in the World Series.
Well, we got to look at a date that's etched in your brain and in your life forever. It was August 15th, 1990. You were facing the San Francisco Giants at Veterans Stadium. Rick Parker, Dave Anderson, Kevin Mitchell, Will Clark, Matt Williams, Greg Litton, Terry Kennedy, Jose Uribe, and Don Robinson was pitching that day. And something happened, and it was magical. You threw a no-hitter. Tell me your thoughts about that.
Oh, it was a strange game for me. Be quite honest, when I went down to the bullpen that day to warm up for the game, and Darrell Knowles was my pitching coach with the Phillies, it was probably one of the worst warm-ups I'd ever experienced in my career. I mean, I literally, he was getting concerned that I had gotten the thing, where you've seen it with where guys in the big leagues all of a sudden just can't find a strike zone, and they're throwing balls up against the backstop and halfway to the plate and everything else, and that was that kind of warm up. And I think he even called down to Nick Lavin and said, hey, you might want to get somebody else in mind as a backup. And so finally, after about maybe 50 pitches, I just turned to Darrell and I said, I'm just beating my head against the wall. I said, let's go to the dugout. I'm loose. I said, I can't tell you that I'll be real accurate, but I'm loose. And as you know, I went out and threw the no-hitter. And I can tell you when I got to 2 outs and 2 strikes on Gary Carter in the bottom of the ninth, the nerves really hit me. And I think I got up on the mound and I was taking a sign from Dutch, from Darren Dalton, and my left leg began to just tremble. And how I had the presence of mind to walk off the mound and just take my time and grab a few deep breaths and rub up the ball and get back up on the mound, and even having done all that, I still overthrew a slider, and it just sailed right across the middle of the plate. And boy, if Gary Carter didn't tag it for that line drive down the line, and there's Charlie Hayes, snagging the line drive to end the ball game, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Well, Terry, it was the first no-hitter at Veterans Stadium. You threw 105 pitches, 75 for strikes. And one of the comments you had in the postgame is the guy that you were fearful of was Matt Williams. You said pretty much everybody else I could control, but Matt Williams, there was just something about his at-bats that you had a little fear of. Why was that?
Well, Matty's a smart hitter. I mean, I roomed with Matt in AAA, and Matt's a ball player's ball player. I mean, he knew the game inside and out. And he knew that at an early age too. I mean, this guy was very precocious as a ball player, and he had the power. And being right-handed and me being left-handed, and him having seen me, come up with the Giants and been around, my career up to that point when I was with the Giants a year previous, I just knew that Matt knew me probably better than anybody else in that lineup. Maybe Terry Kennedy as a catcher, but Matt Williams as a teammate probably knew me better than anyone else.
Well, after the game, you guys were celebrating with champagne, and all of a sudden the clubhouse guy says, "Terry Mulholland, you have a phone call. It's President George Bush." How did you react to that?
I mean, first of all, that evening was such a surprise. Like I said, having come from the bullpen and thinking I had horrible stuff, and then going out and throwing a no-hitter against your former teammates, and then, celebrating, like you said, in the locker room, and then all of a sudden the President of the United States is calling you on the phone to congratulate you. I mean, if I were a writer in Hollywood, I couldn't come up with this stuff.
It was cool, though. You had to have been surprised for one thing. And what did he say to you? What was the conversation like, Terry?
It was just very congratulatory, and that he had got to see the last few minutes of the ball game on ESPN. And I think actually ESPN had cut into our broadcast that night, only because I think that was the eighth no-hitter of the season, which made it a record for the season for no-hitters. And so I guess, the import that carried with it warranted a phone call from President Bush.
We're going to take a break right there on Extra Innings and come back with what President Bush tells Terry Mulholland. We'll be right back.
KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey keeps the postgame rolling live right here.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
On KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM. The sports leader.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning postgame show. More with Terry Mulholland. Well, in 1993, you had pretty much one of your best years. You were 12-9 with a 3.2 earned run average and 191 innings. And you were selected for the National League All-Star game, and that was in Camden Yards in Baltimore. But the cool thing about this, Terry, you got to start the game. And I think that was relatively surprising to you, of course. But Bobby Cox chose you. And the lineup that you had to face was unbelievable. Roberto Alomar, Paul Molitor, Ken Griffey Jr., Gary Carter, John Olerud, Kirby Puckett, Cal Ripken, Wade Boggs, Ivan Rodriguez. Warming up for that game, and you had your catcher, Dalton, with you, which had to help you a little bit. But how'd that act? How did you react to that? How were you thinking about, as you walked into that clubhouse and you're seeing your all-star team in the National League, now you had to go on the center stage and pitch the first pitch.
Right. Well, you know, obviously, Lask facing a lineup like that, it's not your typical lineup. You know, you don't see every day as a major league pitcher.
I would presume so.
Yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't say, you know, in the back of my mind, I'm just going to go out there and try and survive for however long Bobby Cox goes with me. You know, it's our national pastime showcase. And, you know, for the other 99% of the season, good pitching, you know, is the name of the game. That's what wins ball games. But, you know, when you get a lineup like that, it's like, okay, like just try and keep the ball in the infield. each one of those guys is capable of taking you out of the ballpark in one pitch, and Kirby Puckett did. He knocked a changeup of mine that was down and way off the plate out of the park, and I believe that's what got him the MVP that year of the All-Star games.
That was the only hit you gave up. That was it. You went 2 innings, 1 hit, 2 walks, and 1 earned run. You guys end up losing that game 9-3. But that had to have been just an exciting point for you, just to be warming up while the announcements, all the teams being named, the teammates of yours on the line, and you're in the bullpen warming up. Were you jittery? Were you nervous? How would you feel?
I wasn't actually nervous. I was excited to get out there and get the game started.
Mm-hmm.
It was like enough of the pageantry and the activities and the all the interviews and everything else. There's a lot that comes with the All-Star game, a lot more than a regular ball game. And so at that point, you're trying to you get to the bullpen, and now things are starting to like, okay, this is what I do. This is how I do it, and this is how I get ready. Mm-hmm. And those things are familiar. The press conferences and the interviews and the photographs and all that is out of the ordinary. But warming up in the bullpen, getting ready to start a ball game, that's what brings familiarity. And it brought a certain sense of comfort to me that, like, hey, I'm going out to play a ball game now.
Boy, experiences and just to go out there and see everybody behind you playing. But like I said, you had Dalton behind the plate. That had to give me some familiarity of what he wanted you to throw at certain times, and that had to make you relax a little bit too.
It did. Darren was a great teammate, a good catcher, and he was one of those guys that he knew how to calm me down when I needed to be calmed down. He knew how to fire me up when I needed to be fired up, and he knew how to just he knew how to call a ball game for me. He knew my stuff inside and out, and very rarely did I ever shake Darren Dalton off.
A couple more minutes with Terry Mulholland on Extra Inning Post-Game Show. Terry, you had an exceptional move to first base. It was just unbelievable. A high leg kick, but you held it at times. You ended your career with 49 pickoffs at first base, 15 in 1 year in 1990. The opponents only stole 35 stolen bases in your 20-year career. 50 of them were caught stealing. What did you do, and how did you maintain that move? And each year, how did you work on it to make it better?
Well, that move evolved from actually back when I was in high school, or I could even go back further. I could say that when I was a young kid, I always wanted to be a catcher. But being left-handed, there wasn't much call for left-handed catchers.
Not too many at that time.
No, and I think in Little League, I had myself a first baseman's glove, and that's how I ended up playing first base. But my dad was my Little League manager for a couple years, and he actually let me try catching because he figured, I'll get tired of getting beat around, with balls in the dirt and chasing balls back to the backstop and this and that, but I really loved it. And one of the things that I understood about catching as far as making throws to second base is that you had to be quick.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up short-arming my throwing arc and raising the ball to my ear and throwing to the ball to second base. And at a young age like that, it actually influenced my pitching motion. And I don't know if you recall, Lask, but I was a short armor.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I did along the way in high school and college was I worked on a short arm, quick step off, pick off move to first. And I was able to catch a lot of guys by surprise with that move. A lot of left-handers have a conventional pick-off move where they'll make it look like they're in their delivery and then step towards first, whereas I would while I'm taking a sign or just, in between pitches, standing on the rubber, and then all of a sudden step off the back and with a short arm move, make a quick.
Oh, it was
snap.
quick. Oh, it was quick, really quick. And as you're defining it, I can see it in my mind how it was. And a lot of runners never even tried to steal on you. And I think that was exceptional because it was just one of a kind. And left-handers like yourself, Bob McClure was another one that had a real good move. But you had a quick one. That was the good thing about it. And I love how you said it, where your release was and how quickly you got it to first. And it was pinpoint accuracy too, Terry.
For the most part, there were a few times when I'd one hop John Kruk at first base, and actually I think I might have saved John Kruk's life at one point where I had thrown a short hop pickoff throw to first, and it hit him in the cup. And
those are the fun ones.
Yeah, and he actually I think he experienced a little swelling and confusion down there, and through examination later on, he was found to have testicular cancer.
Wow. Yeah, that's sad. That was a sad point. I remember that whole story they did on him and all the different things that happened after. But he was a good first baseman back in the Padres as well as the Phillies.
Oh, yeah. He had a great set of hands on him as far as, fielding and people don't realize this, for John's athletic build that he maintained, he was very flexible. He could do the splits at first, and he kind of bitch and complain about it afterwards. But he was a great teammate and a very impressive ball player. And I've always tried to maintain a relationship with John even after our playing days, and I'm happy to see that he does well with the Phillies organization and their broadcasting. He brings a lot of color to the game.
Terry, as we finish up, one thing that you did in your career, you beat every team, National League and American League, a feat that's very hard to do as a starting pitcher, but you did it. When you look in your rearview mirror and you see this career of 20 years, how do you reflect on that?
It kind of falls under what my father told me years ago. And I'd probably been in the league about 5 or 6 years, and I was back home visiting he and my mother, and my dad and I were sitting out on the back porch, and he goes, now that you've kind of established yourself, he goes, what you got to do now is you just got to play as long as you can until they rip that jersey off you. Mm-hmm. He goes, just, year in, year out, find a way. Because not everybody gets the opportunity, and not everyone gets to this point in their career, and just see what you can get out of it. See how far you can go with it, and see what you can experience.
Well, Terry, I want to congratulate you on a great career, 20 years in Major League Baseball, and some of the highlights that we got to talk about. But I just want to thank you for your time today. It was great catching up with you.
Oh, Bill, it's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed talking with you. I'm glad to hear, that you're out there, dragging out the old guys and telling the stories and sharing the experience with the fans, and I'm sure with some other players that are out there listening. And it's just, it's something that baseball needs, and baseball, should rely on is the guys that have come before the other players that are out there today, because there are some great stories to be told, and you're the conduit.
Well, I appreciate it, and wearing that orange and black uniform like you did, number 45, I'll never forget the times that you were on that mound at Candlestick, and like I said, thank you so much, Terry. It was a great catching up with you.
Well, it was great catching up with you, Lask.
That was Terry Mulholland on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
Bill is back.
Fired up, bringing it, all excited.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Listen on your Google Home smart speaker by saying play KNBR.
Welcome back to the Sunday edition of the Extra Inning Post Game Show with Bill Laskey as we finish out a lengthy show, but some great interviews from Mike Yastrzemski and Terry Mulholland. If you missed those, you can hit some on all KNBR podcasts. The Giants win today in Washington 3-2, 3 runs, 5 hits, no errors for the Giants. 2 runs, 5 hits, 1 error for the Washington Nationals. Robbie Ray gets his 7th win. He goes 7-0. Ryan Walker gets his 10th save. Detroit Tigers coming up next. They play tomorrow, first pitch right here at 10:10, and that's going to be on Memorial Day. And, you know, when you start thinking about Memorial Day, please take time out to thank people. Thank people that you know that have been in the military, that has suffered for us. And that is one thing our freedom's all about. Tomorrow, I got a great show again. I go into the Tiger history banks. Lance Parrish, a World Series champion, 8-time All-Star, 3-time Gold Glove winner. Had a nice chat with him. And, of course, he was the big catcher back then with the Detroit Tigers. The other interview I had, Frank Tanana. Frank Tanana had 21 seasons as a left-hander. He finished his career with 240 wins and 2,773 strikeouts. Frank Tanana, Lance Parrish will be on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show tomorrow in my interviews. It's a great, great Tiger theme. For Bill Laskey, I want to thank Double D, Danny Dunn, as well as Raph for producing the show and picking up all the phone calls. And I want to thank you, Giants fans, for giving me that time on a Sunday to talk Giants baseball. I'll be on tomorrow. Of course, it's Memorial Day, and we're going to have another great show for you. For Bill Laskey and the Extra Inning Post-Game Show, have a great rest of your Sunday. Giants win today. They're 3-2. They're 31-22 as the season progresses. Be safe, be well. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
It's another great outing for the righty on your home of San Francisco Giants baseball. KNBR 104.